Let's get into this right now with Steve Price, with Caroline Marcus, with Sam Crosby. One and all, hello, good evening, welcome. Now, I'll act out that voice for you again a little later, Steve Price. I saw your face of great enjoyment at my enactment of a teal voice. So, I know that I'm breaking my rule by saying I don't want to talk about the voice because it goes on and on and on and on and on, and we don't even know where the final destination is here. But every now and then you've sort of got to do a temperature check, not about yes and no and what's going to win and what you want to win, but some of the tactics that get us where we currently are. So, Pricey, you saw that today. You saw the poll. I've got to say I was a little bit surprised, and the only bit about the poll that makes me go, was when they're pretending that among university graduates only 51% are yes. I would have thought that it's a lot higher than that. But your thoughts about what I mentioned about the tactics here, where if this was really urgent, he could have legislated it, shown us that it was working, and then on the same day that they want to put a republic, then lock it into the Constitution. Instead, he wanted to be Rudd 2.0.
Look, I've said this before, I think he got the referendums the wrong way round, Paul. He should have gone with the Republic first and then worried about the voice later. But of course, on election night when he won, he stood up and said, I intend to implement the Uluru voice from the heart in total. And so he's had no choice. I think what's most interesting about that poll today is, and you're right, when you start splitting hairs on these things, you're down to smaller numbers. Yeah. But the suggestion that the yes vote's declining for women, I think women instinctively know that this is not going to help those Aboriginal children that they see in the streets of places like Darwin and Alice Springs that Matt Cunningham's reported so successfully about. And so I think women go, hang on a minute, how's this actually going to help the kids that really need help? I think that's my opinion of why the female vote is in decline.
Caroline, you're so much more than the lady on the panel, but
no,
still.
I am the token panellist with 2 X chromosomes.
I'm surprised, honestly, if those numbers, because you have a look at Resolve, you have a look at Essential, it's actually women 55 that, of course, were the biggest change in Australian politics at the federal election. You would assume that there would still be a great march towards things that were easy wins. So again, we'll see whether this all works out or not. But what about the fundamental here? This is taking so long. This is such a long process that the Prime Minister deliberately tried to go as long as possible because he knew that the ABC would talk about nothing else, and those of us who do talk about it from time to time, it's just Sky News.
But I just don't understand that strategy, because as time has shown, the longer you go with a referendum in the lead up, the more support drops off. So you'd be better to just go in quick before people understand too much of what the dangers of this thing are and the risks involved and what it really means for the country, and hope to get the result that you do. I mean, we might be talking about it. People are obviously waking up to it. And I think it is really interesting with the women statistic that we've seen. And it shows that despite my sex being generally more empathetic, and that is an evolutionary fact, it's for survival of our species, we are also discerning enough to see that this is purely a tokenistic measure. It isn't going to make a tangible difference to the lives of disadvantaged Indigenous families and children, just as Pricey points out. This is a tokenistic measure, but worse than that, it could provide more space for lengthy delays in delivering policy, in challenges to the court when the voice isn't listened to.
But again, all of this would have disappeared if it was legislated in the first months of the Parliament. They could have shown that it was working, not working, all the rest of it, and then there's conversation about Constitution. A very small other point here, Sam, about why I think we're jumping to Constitution first, details second, was when Julia Gillard wanted to put local government into the Constitution. Everyone kind of went, hang on, another layer of government, not interested. But somehow they all thought there was this new hue of awesomeness that meant they could serve anything up and we could all wait forever. As somebody who wants it to happen, was there a different series of events and different timings that could have resulted in a stronger position? Let's imagine there is a little change. Do you really want a constitutional change that's 51-49?
Honestly, I'll take any kind of constitutional change. It's a yes vote, right? Like, all you need is one vote extra, and then all the rest is for ego after that, right? I genuinely don't know, and I think you'll be proven right if the thing goes down, and you'll be proven wrong if it gets up, right? That's the... And if it gets up, Albo's going to be a genius, and everything that that he chose is great, and if it goes down, then everything he chose is going to be... That's just the way the story will write itself. A minister once said to me that the only decisions that make its way to the Prime Minister's desk are 51-49, as in it could go either way.
Yeah.
The
All
60-40
those
calls...
bad sandwiches, and that's my polite version.
Exactly. The 60-40 calls, he says, they get made by the receptionist at the front door, right? They never get onto the Prime Minister's desk. So look, maybe he should have gone hard and fast and gone early. Maybe he should have taken... There are arguments you can make on both sides. I genuinely don't know. I'm not going to comment about, women in the bush being, clearly not either of those categories.
Yeah.
But I genuinely don't know if you can poll in such granular detail this far out, or frankly, much detail whatsoever. Every single bloke or mate that I have who is not intimately involved in this sphere still has no idea that there is even going to be a constitutional referendum later this year.
Yeah, I'll give you the tip, right? I'm doing a thing on Triple M. I'm doing a thing on Triple M Brisbane because their breakfast show wants me to come on later this week and say, what is this about, right? And I'm not going to sit there and tell which way, yes or no. But that's the other thing, Pricey, which is that you've got compulsory voting in Australia, right? Now, obviously, the yes camp wants to create such a goodwill that basically, OK, I don't get the detail, but it seems like a good thing, let it happen. But that incredibly potent line of if you don't know, vote no, it's sort of Johnny Cochran-esque, but it's very easy, and that's really the battle. It's not a battle over us having granular conversations here on Sky or over there at Radio National about hard yes, hard no. It's a group of people that will be listening to FM radio who will get a fine if they don't vote.
So, Paul, I think the most important thing you've done tonight is make the point that there is a demographic split here. And I think that is very important. I mix a lot, obviously, because of my age, with older males mainly and older women. They are all engaged. They do know what this referendum's about, and they're suspicious of what its outcomes will be. Sam there talks about how, it might just get over the line. That'll be a dreadful thing for the country. We'll be split down the middle. But the younger people I mix with in other parts of the media, they're all, and my own children, are saying, well, of course we're going to vote yes. So it is split down there. So you've got that bit in the middle where Anthony Albanese's got to convince them. He's done a bloody, stupidly awful job of it so far. And if he doesn't get off his backside and try and explain it properly, give us some detail and a date, then he's going to lose this thing. I disagree with you on that, Paul. I think this thing goes down unless they change their way they're trying to argue it.
Well, you will be filling in for me in a couple of weeks' time, and you can say it as often as you want. The man cave will be all yours, my man. Looking forward to seeing you in the big chair. All right, now let's talk about the Greens. Now, Sam, you've ripped long and hard on these guys. We're in the Parliament, they're arguing one thing, and then in reality, they're doing something else at home. We've seen that literally, they hate landlords, but as landlords, they're subdividing their own properties. They want more housing to be built, and we learned today that particularly the South East Queensland-based Greens MPs are doing everything they can to stop any sort of new homes being built because of overdevelopment concerns. What I was fascinated by in Fadden was the Greens went way down. Now, that vote went straight off to legalise cannabis. Interesting. But I thought in electorate they had 35% renters. Their whole thing was about housing, that they were going to maybe strengthen as a result. But instead, it seems like people in Fadden and the rest of the country are where you are, which is, mate, you're all over the shop and you're just talking crap to get my vote, not to actually build anything.
And they just don't bear up to scrutiny, right? Give me an old, Lee Rhiannon. A proper, she was just a com. She was like, you know what, bulldoze Vaucluse, build up, Stalinistic high-rise, I'm okay with that. Give me something like that. You knew where she was coming from, right?
Pre-hyphens.
Right, these next generation of debating club tree Tories who like sitting around sipping their Chardonnay and sipping their champagne and having conversations about, oh, this is the right thing to do, oh, la-di-da, and all the while they go into Parliament and they vote against a housing fund that will see literally tens of thousands of new homes built in this country for the citizens who need it absolutely and who, frankly, cannot afford to vote Green.
Well, again, if I'm half right on these things, the result in Fadden, the fact that if you want to be a lefty that wants to go single issue, you can go legalise cannabis first rather than just, got to go green. That's going to send a warning, Fadden, because it's had quite a significant renting population, so I wouldn't be surprised if you end up with them supporting it much sooner rather than later. But Caroline, again, No don't surprise that hypocrisy exists in politics. However, they seem to be able to get away with the very organisations that interview them to be the battering rams to make the point about more social housing or the housing thing without anyone ever pointing out in those interviews, in the Turnbull Times, the Nine Papers or the ABC, that these are the same people who the second you want to build one in their community say, overdevelopment.
Can we get an accent voice off between you two later? Your teal and green voters' impressions are spot on. No, I mean,
I would have got harder if I wasn't on camera. When there's a graphic, I can go full, spinning hands and carrying on. I'm right in the voice booth when you can't see my face.
I mean, colour me shocked that a protest party is just the absolute epitome of hypocrisy. They say they're about providing more housing for people, but they block any policy that will deliver that in reality. I mean, it is essentially becoming a party of just latte sipping inner city folk that are completely detached from real solutions that are going to help problems. They just want to protest. Well, and that's what we're seeing happening.
My sense about it is it's about low information and just high sort of nodding at insert dinner party or wherever people meet, as opposed to the great granular solutions to things. Well, Steve, you're going to be... Keep going.
Just fundamentally, but that's because they don't need government.
Correct.
They can buy their education, they can buy their healthcare. They don't need any of the services that governments provide. So, for all the people that I work with every day who are, as you said earlier, on the bones of their asses, they need government
100%.
In whatever form it takes.
100%.
If you're living in Newtown or inner city Brisbane or inner city Melbourne, you don't need government.
Well, and this is the thing. I mean, obviously, are there poor people in all those areas? Sure, but are there also people who have the opportunity to go back to mummy and daddy? Yeah, there is. Or people who maybe could travel an extra few kilometres and rent somewhere else if it's available in those areas. You betcha. All right, quick break. Back with more Pricey, your first cab off the rank, because I want to talk about how a generation of Australians believe it should be a crime to misgender someone. Seriously? Yeah, next.
This program is brought to you by Harvey Norman. For everything you need in furniture, bedding, electrical and technology.
For nearly 30 years, Sky News Australia has been watched by our leaders.
Enormous alternative coverage.
I was tuning in as I always do.
It's riveting television.
Always watch Sky News.
And the channel that questions our leaders.
That's a dramatic claim. I'm asking what it's based on.
I can't answer your question.
If this fails, doesn't that set back reconciliation?
This is Australia's news channel.
Breaking news.
Sky News can reveal.
Government sources have told Sky News.
Harvey Norman, your premium Optus dealer. Receive a $500 Harvey Norman gift card when you connect to a new Optus $69 per month SIM-only plan for 24 months with 100 gigabytes of data for use in Oz. That's right, connect to Optus at Harvey Norman and sign up to a new $69 per month Optus 24-month SIM-only plan and receive a $500 Harvey Norman gift card. Offer available until withdrawn. Harvey Norman, your premium Optus dealer.
Go!
Flexible.
Helpful. Can do.
Pepper Money.
Australia's real-life non-bank for home loans, car loans and personal loans. Pepper Money, the home of loan options.
These will come in handy this week. You'll thank me later.
Do future you a favour and stock up with fresh, ready-made meals delivered. Help yourself with YouFoods.
An impulse. Just emotion. As humans, we contain this impulse. But nothing takes us further than the impulse bursting inside. The impulse of a new generation. Cupra born, full electric.
The Australian government has increased the childcare subsidy, which is good for families, businesses, and good for Australia. To find out more, visit childcaresubsidy.gov.au. Authorised by the Australian Government, Canberra.
Since I've been ordering Light and Easy, I've lost 8 kilos. It might not seem like a lot to people,
but I didn't want it to get to 20, 30 kilos that I had to lose.
I tried all the fad diets, but with Light and Easy, I've lost 50 kilos. I'm so much happier. I feel healthy. I love life.
I've lost 23 kilos. Somebody said, you know what, you didn't just lose 23 kilos, you gained 20 years of your life.
Not revolutionary, just good food and great results. Light and Easy.
Business costs rising? Eliminate one bill that can save thousands. Switch to SmartPay's zero-cost EFTPOS. Imagine thousands in fees back in your pocket, powering your business.
No EFTPOS fees save us $8K.
That's $8K to shave off power bills.
Zero fees spice up our profits.
That helps cover rising costs.
We save 10 grand.
10K toward wages. Join thousands saving thousands. Switch to SmartPay zero-cost EFTPOS. Visit SmartPay now.
A change to our constitution, a change for our nation.
Some people will try and use this as an opportunity to divide us.
Opinion is divided.
The gap is stark, and it's getting wider.
Have an informed debate.
It's going to undermine our democracy.
This is what this whole bloody referendum's about.
Why is this so important to you?
Because it is nation building.
The Voice. Australia Decides. July 25, 8 p.m. on Sky News.
So apparently quite a significant number of millennials believe that misgendering someone should be illegal. Let's be clear about this. Misgendering, of course, would mean that somebody who was born male decided to transition to female, yet you keep calling them by what is known as their dead name, which was the former sex's name. I think we've got a pretty little pie chart for you too here to explain just how many people have actually said this, where 44% believe that it should be a criminal offence to misgender someone. 31% say no, and plenty of there sort of with the don't know in the middle. Steve, a criminal offence. Now look, again, I'm trying to come up with a better pun, and I feel like I'm going to get in trouble for saying it, but I'm going to say it anyway, right? Now, I say whether we're talking about how kids behave with each other at school or how you behave in the workplace or in this scenario, just don't be a dick, right? And if you're not that, then, you know, if somebody's transitioned, then it's pretty obvious you call them by their new name, and if you accidentally forget, it shouldn't be a crime.
Well, you're talking common sense. I mean, Paul, seriously, I mean, we're going down this path so rapidly that it's leaving people like you and me in particular, but maybe Caroline, I don't know, behind, because I just don't... I'm absolutely frightened to have a debate about this question, because I don't know what I should really think. And that coming out of my mouth is quite extraordinary, because I've always known what to think. Well, I don't know what to think now. I really seriously don't. And I don't mind admitting it, because it's
because Steve's going to approve his production mission.
I'm now afraid after Steve Price to
Steve doesn't get, and see, Sam didn't get mentioned because you're assumedly pro this. Sorry, Caroline.
Now, look, this is the millennials. That's my generation. That's
my generation.
You fit in there too, maybe.
No, I'm an Xer. Proudly an Xer.
We're there. We just scrape in. I'm ashamed. I am ashamed tonight to be a millennial. If this is how my fellow millennials are thinking, like, honestly, people
Well, you turned up to work and you're not working from home, so you're not a true millennial.
Yeah, sure, that's true.
Yeah.
Wake up. I mean, honestly, you can be any gender, any of the 72. You can identify as a cat these days, and there are kids in Australian school doing that. So we're now saying it's going to be illegal not to refer to someone as their cat pronoun.
But something a little
That
more
is
sensible
insane.
is what is happening in the UK. And there was somebody who was running to replace Boris Johnson in Kimmy Badenoch, and she's now the one of the inclusion secretaries, and she says now, if you are beginning as a kid to say you want to transition, this system of your parents don't need to know, that's crap, it disappears. To me, that seems very sensible here, Sam, where, now again, I know that people say, well, these laws are put in place for the kid that's in an abusive family and the family that won't be as supportive, but it's being misused in the other direction where, put simply, kids end up going really far down a road before their parents are even aware, and maybe they're only aware because they're finding some of the drugs that are involved if you go too far down the road. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I guess I'm just a bit uncomfortable, and this is not a position I've really thought that far through. But I guess I'm just
Then let's all work it out on television in a very high-wire fashion, of which no one can get cancelled.
Yeah, absolutely. Good. Now that we've established that.
Do what I did and say you don't want to know about it and you don't understand.
I'll give you the tip. Steve has a position, he just didn't say it.
I mean, that is terrifying, right? When Steve Price is saying, I'm not touching this one, and then it's like, hey, let's throw it to the left.
Steve's got, how much have I got to pay off on the car? All right, I've got how much on the more? No, I need this for a few more years.
I guess
so I have got no position here.
I guess I'm just uncomfortable with a mandate, right? Saying a teacher has to go and tell the parents. I mean, if the teacher knows that that parent is going to be kicking that kid out of home, so that kid's going to enter homelessness.
Then they should be reporting that parent to child abuse services. And they say if the kid is going to be abused, that is the answer. It's not keeping information like the kid has changed their names, has changed their pronouns. I know we're all having a good laugh, but one day...
I'm serious about it. I'm with you. I'm with you.
A laugh about this, and there is a lot of funny
This is the show where we're just allowed to laugh, even while having a serious conversation.
I'm having a laugh because I just said, look, I don't really know. There's two sides, and I'm getting it here.
There is comedy gold here, yes, but on the other hand, it's pronouns one day, it's mutilating children via surgery in the name of gender-affirming care. It's giving kids hormones that is going to make them sterile and have completely damaging effects that is irreversible.
Well, so Megan Kelly's position that we talk about most weeks, and the full chats go up on our YouTube channel or at skynews.com.au, where she talks about pronouns, frankly, as the gateway to, if you give that all sort of complete acceptance, then there's other things that are going to come down the road pretty quickly. Gang, we're out of time. We could have gone all night. We all could have been cancelled by the end of tonight's show.
Probably
I'm feeling good. All right, thank you very much, Steve, with no opinion whatsoever on that particular matter. Good luck paying everything off. I'm glad you made it through another week. The wonderful Sam Crosby, you too. Caroline, no one got cancelled.